Beautiful weather here at Spa-Francorchamps, and high drama before the start of the race. We always expect dramatic racing and dramatic incidents at Spa-Francorchamps, but to have two of the cars colliding on the warm-up lap is quite remarkable. Ciao Colin, it says on the nose of Riccardo Rizzati's car. Rizzati was one of the two drivers involved. He collided with Timo Glock on the way round from the pits to the dummy grid, not even on the formation lap. Hello everybody, Martin Haven and Gareth Rees watching the view over Spa-Francorchamps, the home of the Belgian Grand Prix, and one of still the greatest tests of a car and driver combination in modern motor racing. Has always been thus, Spa. It's always been a really stiff challenge. There is the mighty new pits complex, and the extra wide front straight in front of it now used to be much narrower, and Gareth actually, a viewer commenting after yesterday's start when at least 5 and possibly more, actually, if we think about it, cars stalled on the grid, whether the organisers have considered it worth their money spending on widening the pit lane. Well, I have to say that with so many stranded cars there and no incidents, you have to say absolutely yes, money well spent.
Yeah, I mean the previous configuration was like a street circuit, wasn't it? We basically had concrete walls down both sides of the track. Now it's been opened up left and right with grass or astroturf, actually, kind of areas to run wide onto if you need it. And yesterday it was needed, 5 cars stalling.
Well, yesterday we spotted the DPR, Dave Price Racing Mechanics, celebrating as their cars scored a point for the first time, courtesy of Andy Suchek. Well, their car scored a couple of points, but we neglected to mention, even though we did say that Ho Pin Tung was in 8th place and would start at the front of the grid for today, that of course that is BCN's first points of the season. And Gareth, we're not quite sure when they scored points before, but since Stato Sean hasn't mentioned it, I think they possibly must have at some stage.
Yeah, we're racking our brains to think, aren't we? But certainly they have scored points. We just can't think when, unfortunately. So
mind you, I'm not sure I could tell you with any certainty when the last time that both iSport cars made it to the flag in a competitive position was either, so that my grasp of statistics isn't perhaps the world's best, but yeah, it's another iSport drama that's got absolutely nothing to do with the race itself this time.
Yeah, they seem to attract trouble. They're certainly making it exciting for us, aren't they? They're determined to eke this championship out right to the wire next time in Valencia, which is very good of them, but it does make for hair-raising viewing.
Yeah, and some grey-haired team bosses as well, I would think. There's it's almost inconceivable that the championship leader should vanish pre-dummy grid in that sort of a way, but that's what we have. And courtesy of Lucas Di Grassi finishing in 3rd position as well, we have got a good championship battle on our hands. As Gareth said, it can't be settled here, and in fact, if Di Grassi scores anything, I think can only be settled in the final race in Valencia. We've got a 6-point margin at the moment between Lido Timo Glock and Lucas Di Grassi in 2nd place, and that should make for a very entertaining race weekend at Valencia. Well, this then is their final race supporting the Formula 1 cars. As you look overhead, that's going around Beau Rivage, just as they drop down the hill, and now really quite steep downhill, Gareth. I don't think, again, that the cameras really do the gradient changes here much justice. You get the impression that you're not on the flat, but it really is pretty steep all the way down here.
Exactly, pretty much from the top of that hill, the hairpin, you're dropping down all the way down the hill. Pouhon, the double apex left-hand that we just went through, is very difficult, actually. It's basically a dab of the brakes, turn in, flat back on the power again, but the road cambers away and the road drops away, and you just get understeer. The car, the front end of the car wants to plough on and put you into the what was the gravel trap, what is now a kind of a high grip tarmac runoff zone. But it's a very tricky corner, Paul, and as we saw, Adam Carroll got bitten yesterday.
Yes, Carroll in 3rd place in yesterday's race just took a little too much out of the inside curve, and that lifted the car's wheels just enough to break traction, and the car looped round and rather disappointingly for him clattered into the barriers. Otherwise, I feel pretty sure actually, as Luca Filippi and Lucas Di Grassi, well, Lucas Di Grassi particularly was looking very lacklustre at that stage. Carroll could very likely have got back by him into a podium position, but that was not unfortunately to be. So today's grid then with Ho Pin Tung on pole position, and for a number of drivers that might well be the safest place to see him. Karen Chondok on the outside of the front row, Andy Soucek for DPR third on the grid, Mike Conway fourth. Now of that quartet, Conway obviously is the man with no luck at all, so that effectively almost rules him out, but we might well in this 18-lap race have a new race winner to conjure with, and I certainly would like to see that. Javi Veer in fifth place, Lucas de Grassi in sixth. Well, Javi Veer in fifth place is a man with a good run of results in sprint races so far this year, most of them gained from the front row, but he was one of yesterday's big improvers, had a very, very strong race yesterday and really turned in a sort of slightly unsung, because he didn't end up at the front, star performance, because he started well down on the grid and raced very strongly indeed. Cars coming onto the grid then, ready to get this 11th round of 13 of the championship underway here in beautiful Belgian conditions. Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, round 11 of the GP2 series for 2007. 6 points separate the top two in the championship, but Timo Glock will not start the race after a pre-warm-up lap collision. Ho Pin Tung on the left on pole, Karen Chondok on the right on the outside of the front row. Another long hold from Charlie Whiting. No stallers this time, but in it, yes there are, but an explosion of cars left, right and centre. Tung leads, and down the inside Andy Soucek's gone in front. He takes the lead. Karen Chondok goes through into second place as well. Red Bull car facing backwards, probably won't be the last, but at the moment seems to be the only one. Chondok leads, beg your pardon, Soucek leads, Chondok in second place. Adam Carroll, no, it's Javi Veer in third place, so two Spaniards electrifying off the grid. But Gareth, what an explosion of cars there fanning out off the start line.
Yeah, de Grassi down in fourth place, he's the man to watch for the championship. But Soucek got a great start, didn't he, and got a comfortable lead there.
And Karen Chondok there just holding off, is that Nakajima? A little further back, you can see Timo Glock's car behind the barriers there as they sweep round at the top of the hill. On board with Luca Filippi, right behind the racing engineering car. Charging down the hill then, and Luca Filippi, yesterday's second place man. Oh! Kick of dust there as somebody went very wide. That'll be spray off the damp curbs. Just got away with it somehow, and Filippi puts in the pass. I think that might just have been the car in front of him that was throwing up the spray.
It's Javi Veer as he's dropped back slightly from his great start, and Tung made a pretty poor start from pole as well. He's running in fourth.
Yeah, I think Veer must have not quite had the line he wanted through Eau Rouge and just got sucked up on the straight up to Les Combes. A very, very busy opening lap. But out front, Andy Soucek. Now, this could be the shot in the arm that Dave Price Racing really desperately needs. In 3 years in the competition, they have been the bad luck merchants. They have not been able to get a break for love nor money. And at the moment, Soucek, 2005 Spanish Formula 3 champion, and a man much rated in Spain when he left Spanish F3, is out front with a comfortable lead, 1.5 seconds over Karen Chondok. But Lucas de Grassi in third, looking a lot feistier, Gareth, than he was in previous races. Sebastian Buemi, well, that was a real 18-year-old's move there, diving down the inside of Roldan Rodriguez, bouncing him off. Marco Martinez runs very wide at the back there, or near the back in fact. He started on the final row of the penultimate row of the grid ahead of Giorgio Pantano. Pantano 22nd. We lost Marcus Niemöller. Look at them all fanning out and pulling out in the tow. One of the PK Sport cars there, stuck in the middle of a little group. As that's Negrão with Hirate trying to get by him. And Nakajima, yes.
Yeah, Mike Conway made a rotten start actually. He got left on the grid from the second row. He's down in 8th place at the moment.
Waved yellows at the top of the hill at Les Combes. Not quite sure why that is, or in fact it was at the exit of Malmedy. Bit hard to overtake there anyway, but nonetheless. So Souček leading from Chandok, Lucas de Grassi in third, Tung the red car in fourth place. We're looking further down the order there at Andy Zuber. He's 17th in the middle of that big squabble, or was at the line last time. And Souček's lead not really increasing but stabilising via Filippi, Petrov, Conway. Bruno Senna with the fastest race lap at the moment, ahead of Buemi. Let's have a look again at the start.
There. Conway just sits on the grid and just gets swallowed up, doesn't he?
Next best thing to a stall, that was.
Yep.
Well, there was a long and obviously extremely well-informed description of why these cars are a nightmare to get off the start line that we read this morning, Gareth. But unfortunately, there's only 17 laps remaining, so we haven't got time to go into all the potential reasons why these things don't work.
Yesterday's winner just sat on the grid, so joins the list of stallers this weekend. Yeah, it was a long and very interesting summary of what the reasons are behind all the stalling problems. But as you said, way too detailed to go through here. But basically, these things are hard to get off the line for numerous technical reasons that really need to be addressed with a new car that's due out for next season.
Most of which are electronic based. The engine and the ECU and the GCU have got so many different override setups. Buemi there lunging to the inside, as we saw just a moment ago. Last lap bouncing off Roldan Rodriguez.
Timo Glock.
Well, again, I think we need to have a little look again at that replay. I did sort of think that he was a bit the innocent party, but your eyes, Gareth, generally pick things out a little better than mine. You got the
a little bit younger.
Yeah. Well, also having sat in the cockpit, you see things very differently.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, when I saw the in-car footage, it looked as though it was Rosati's fault. But then the long shot seemed to indicate that Timo just didn't see Rosati coming up his inside and wandered into his path as he warmed his tyres up, put Rosati on the grass. Rosati spun, came back onto the track and collected poor old Timo's car.
Well, of course, one thing that you wouldn't expect as a driver is for somebody to be coming past you on the warm-up lap. So
this is true. I mean,
that might have caught him slightly by surprise.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if you noticed, there was a big bunch of them. Clearly, they'd all come out the pits exactly the same time when the pit lane opened. And there was a big bunch of cars, and Rosati and Glock were right in the middle of them.
Whoa, that was a big handful. Is that Tahinchi? Yes, back on again. Yes, back on again. So that's his second entertaining excursion.
Yeah, that was Filippi down at Stavro having a moment on the bump on the apex there.
Race leader comes across the line to complete lap 3. Andy Souček, 1.5 seconds still ahead of Karen Chandok. Chandok easing away from de Grassi. Tung in 4th, Via in 5th. There is Luca Filippi ahead of Mike Conway.
Now, with the greatest respect to Chandok and to Souček, what on earth is de Grassi doing just sat there in 3rd place and actually losing ground on the front two?
We're revisiting our... Won't it...
I know we make
won't it be appalling if somehow he ends up winning the championship without really having looked like a race winner at any stage conversation?
Come on, I know you've got to think about getting your points, but you've got to maximise your chance now. Your main rival is out of the race.
Yeah, he has a chance to really crucify Glock's chances and to almost go in. Yes, that's why you see now we're all too willing to say, oh well, Tahinchi's dropped it off the road, but in fact that wasn't the case. Is that Buemi smoking heavily? Yes, I think it is. And let's see whether that's coming out from the diffusers or whether that looks like it's coming out from the exhaust. That looks to me like it's coming out from the exhaust.
It does. I think he's best pulling off.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's realised, has he, actually? Marcos Martinez dropping down the order again for Racing Engineering.
Has he spun on Buemi's oil, maybe?
Well, it's possible that he's not just blowing it out in a sort of total loss oil system style, but that in fact it's dribbling out somewhere else as well. But the fact that he's still going at relatively decent pace probably means there's not a big hole in the block yet. However, that may not be the case in a minute or two, because he certainly is burning much more oil than he really needs to be, and he probably ought to be, well, if he doesn't put it into shutdown and recovery mode, then I think the ECU probably will do anyway. They're just scrambling to get round him safely before he explodes, so hopefully, yes, the car will now chug up the hill as it lapses onto, well, possibly down to even 1 cylinder to try and get itself down the pit road. Squabble here, Tung and Via. But you're right about Di Grassi going, this is his opportunity, knowing even before they went away on the formation lap, that the championship leader would not start. 6-point lead, so he could really just stamp on Timo Glock and actually go to Valencia with the championship lead. But at the moment, he's sitting there waiting for 2 drivers to retire in front of him for that to happen. Yeah. I mean, it may be that he hasn't got a car that's good enough to do it, but...
That's hard to believe. I mean, come on, this is Chandok in a Durango car with the greatest of respect. In the ART car, he should be doing a damn sight better than he is, and he should be really all over Chandok, putting him under pressure. Chandok isn't used to running at the very front of the field, nor is Souček. Put the guys under pressure and see what happens.
Absolutely valid. You're right. They're not used to running at the front.
There goes.
But they are used, probably both of them actually, to pretty close racing battles. Even though it's been for 12th or 15th, we've seen Chandok and Souček during the season having some really fierce, sleeves rolled up, fights. So actually, I have to say,
but it's one thing to do it in midfield, and completely another when you're actually running at the front of the field. There's an awful lot of different pressure being applied there. Yeah,
the mental frailty when it's your first ever podium compared to its 15th, and actually it's really sort of just a bit of fun almost. Yes. You're right. There is the potential there that Di Grassi could really exploit. I'm afraid it will just underline our sort of overriding feeling that he's not really the guy if nothing much changes.
No. Well, the clock carries on like he is, then he's going to hand it to him.
It is a little after you, Claude, isn't it? Which is very, very disappointing for a series that has been so strong in producing exciting racing. And actually, I even dared to type the words this morning, a boring GP2 race. Yesterday's was not a feast of excitement, was it? It
was a little processional, which is not what we're used to.
What's interesting at the back of this little group, though, is Conway harassing Filippi all over the place at the moment. As you can see, Sebastian Buemi going to have a look at the race on the monitors, which is all that's left to him now. Conway looking to get by Luca Filippi to pick up a couple of points in 6th place.
Yeah, Filippi's struggling, isn't he? Going backwards big time.
Well, he was smoking quite a lot through Eau Rouge there, but that obviously is the car bottoming out, but he just doesn't seem to be quite right. Well, again, going back to thoughts of what happened to Timo Glock, the onboard pictures, watching them, suggested that when he was hit, he was in a straight line.
Yeah.
But, definitely.
The impact you see from the car, from the in-car shot, is Rosati basically is already spun down the grass and is rejoining the track out of control from the right.
Whereas Glock, when we saw the shot looking down the Kemmel Straight, certainly seemed to be right over to the right-hand side, and Rosati was going onto the grass and spinning. So I think it's hard to attribute blame to Glock, other than for perhaps not expecting the unexpected, but Rosati will certainly be a little more careful when he's on laps out of the pits in future.
Yeah. I think if what I think has happened is correct, Glock is to blame, but I can understand how it's happened. When you're on your out lap from the pits, you're really doing a systems check, so you're warming your tyres up, you're making sure all the gauges are okay, making sure everything feels right. You're not necessarily paying a great deal of attention to your mirrors. Rosati is a rookie at this level. It really isn't the done thing to go racing past cars that are clearly warming their tyres up. You've got to be a little bit circumspect, and I think maybe he just got a bit carried away with himself, Rosati, and put himself in a position where Glock just wasn't expecting it. But if what happened, or what I think happened, I think Glock does have to take the blame, unfortunately.
Adam Carroll here, chasing hard. He is currently in 10th, chasing Vitaly Petrov, who had a good start to the race and just sort of faded away a little bit, the Russian driver. Thought the his first sequence was about as quick as it gets. Now, Javi Veer in the pits for a drive-through. Who have we seen him hit?
So I was trying to think.
Didn't look like a jump start, but then it doesn't have to look like a jump start with the electronics being quite so sensitive. Flying through Eau Rouge, and all the cars smoking as they bottom out there. The wooden plank, the rubbing strip underneath. Carroll on the grass on the inside gets a very early move going. He was really much quicker than Petrov through Eau Rouge, but he's on the outside of the Russian and has to give the place back. He really is all over him, though.
Ooh.
Looking into Malmedy to try and make the pass.
Half tempted to stick his nose in then, wasn't he? I thought better of it.
Was indeed. Around the outside at Rivage, really pushing very hard indeed. Roldan Rodriguez coming up
Now
behind.
he's done him. Great move, great move.
Well, it just shows that Spa still offers a lot more than just the one overtaking opportunity that so many circuits do. And you just have to, I mean, again, with these cars, you just can sit at low speed in low speed corners and run wheel to wheel with a rival.
Yeah, no, that was a good move. I mean, there's not a great deal of grip around the outside of Rivage, and Petrov thought he had that covered, I think, and Carroll thought otherwise. It was a really good move.
So Carroll moves up into 9th place. Next target would be Bruno Senna, who is 1 second ahead of them on the road, or was on the last lap. So you can just see flash of Senna going through the beginning of that shot. Replay of the start with Lucas de Grassi.
Mike Conway.
You know, when you're hanging it on full revs, Gareth, and suddenly the scenery doesn't move in front of you, you have to be really, really sharp, don't you?
You do, very, very quick. Yeah, there's no point really making a plan for the start of the race because, as you can see there, anything can happen.
Yeah, you don't have time to tear it up. Well, it all goes wrong, do you? That's for sure. Rodriguez still under pressure there. Nakajima and Petrov behind him. So, in fact, Rodriguez and Nakajima got by Vitaly Petrov after Adam Carroll did. And that must have been on the run up to the bus stop. So Petrov really faded badly on that lap. There he goes, through shot. Big gap back then to Christian Bakkerud, leading the next queue in 12th. By him into the braking area. So Roldan Rodriguez and Kazuki Nakajima both getting by Vitaly Petrov at the end of the last lap. In fact, Rodriguez got by him, Gareth, on the way up from Stavelot, but he then went a little wide through Blanchimont and just had to perhaps back off the throttle a fraction too much.
Yeah, that's the wise thing to do there. You don't want to be understeering off at Blanchimont. It's very, very quick. Actually, the runoff now is much better. Do you remember it used to be really close to the track, and if you got it wrong, it was a serious penalty to pay.
You can still have the mother and father of all shunts there, who had a huge run last year. Somebody had a monster one last year.
Remember one in F1, it was the Jaguar went in there very hard, didn't it, a couple of years ago. But since then they have moved the barrier back, but as you say, you can still have a big off there.
And it's not the proximity of the barrier, it's just that it's so flipping quick, and also it's sort of, you're cresting a rise, and so if you do go out wide, the car is sort of up on its tippy toes and really not stopping quite in the way that you would hope.
Yeah, if the car's working well, it's actually a pretty comfortable flat corner, but if the car is less than perfect, it's a very, very difficult corner. Climbing the hill is our race leader, Andy Suchek, just half a second ahead of Karan Chundok and closing. So the Indian driver has reeled him back in, Gareth. He was 1.6 ahead at his biggest margin, and Dave Price will have about another 10 laps before he can start breathing again at this rate, because he will be desperate to see a good result. Here's his other driver, Christian Bakkerud, with Andy Zuber coming around the outside. This is for 12th. It's pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
It was pretty straightforward. Bakkerud sort of hoist.
Too late.
Yeah. Going in too deep, defending. The problem there is the road drops away quite dramatically on the inside up by the pit wall, and so the inside defensive line is actually the worst one.
Yeah, DPR won 2 sprint races back in '95, the first year of GP2 with Olivier Pla. So they have won races before, but not for a couple of 2.5 seasons that is now. Isn't it? And as we were saying yesterday, there's talks afoot that maybe the bottom 1 or 2 teams in GP2 this year are going to get replaced by teams coming through. And DPR are one of those on the bubble. Really, they've had a pretty poor couple of seasons, so they have to really try and get a win today or at Valencia, and hope they can stave off relegation from GP2.
It may not even be in terms of points, the bottom teams either, because the organisers are very aware that they want well-funded, well-structured teams, particularly with a good engineering base, because they don't want, the halt and the lame hanging off the back of the grid a couple of seconds off the front-running pace or a couple of seconds off the sort of middle field pace. What they really want is teams that have got a very good structure, and so it's nobody's position, they've said, is guaranteed for next year. All the current teams have had to reapply for 2008 to 10, and obviously there have been a whole host of others looking to come in as well. Of course, Trevor Carlin is perpetually mentioned with any new category, and a whole bunch of others from the Renault World Series and Formula 3 Euro Series, British Formula 3, and so on and so forth. So what's interesting is also that not all of the current teams have agreed to go and do the GP2 Asian Series, which should start in the Middle East just around Christmas, and bring them back to Bahrain or Dubai. I did read, and I've immediately forgotten, before the start of the European season.
Yeah, I think Racing Engineering's one that said we're not going to do it, which politically perhaps is unwise. I think maybe you want to show commitment to the GP2 Winter Series to make sure you get your entry for the main series next year. Yes, true.
Kohei Hirate diving down on the inside, going by Baccarud for 13th.
So making the exact same mistake that he made with Zuga the previous lap, just going into the Lassource hairpin too quick on the defensive, running wide and letting the car behind just go underneath him.
And then coming out of the corner very wide indeed, with Pantano smoking up the inside under full throttle, so that didn't help himself at all there. Christian, if you get suckered in once, please don't get suckered in a second time. And if you've done it twice, then really don't do it the third time. Kind of hard to know how to deal with it, I suppose. Just to use the racing line is the best way, but then you end up trying to cut up right up to the pit wall on the apex, and there's somebody inside you. So.
Well, the root cause is he's just not quick enough through the chicane onto the pit straight. That's where he's getting eaten up. Is the car behind is much quicker out of that corner.
Yes. That's one of the strange things in life, isn't it? I keep getting past at the last corner, so therefore we have to go back to the one before to sort that out, and then hopefully they won't be close enough. Well, Soucek and Chandok still lapping just outside or just on the 2-minute mark. 2 minute 0.816 for Soucek the last lap, 2 minutes 0.810 for Chandok. So Chandok whittling away another 6,000ths of a second, which is obviously nothing at all. But the Indian driver again closing right up at the top of the hill, gets a big toe, but it's all just a little too late to actually be able to try and make a pass. Here's Pantano. Now, he obviously didn't get by Christian Baccarud on the run down from Lassource. Yeah, goes around the outside, the long way round. And is that Javi Veer? I think so, coming back up to go by Sandy Negrão. No, Borja Garcia, sorry. Sandy Negrão in front. So passing Garcia, who's been utterly off the boil this weekend. Which is odd, because if Chandok is running at the front, then I can't really see why, other than feeling under the weather or just not getting Spa at all, why Garcia would be so much further behind. Well, again, Baccarud defending the inside, Gareth. I mean, it's so wide and so long and so fast. You basically choose a channel and hope that the guy behind hasn't got enough of a toe. I mean, if he has, there's not much you can do either way.
You can make him work for it, make him go the hard way, around the outside. But Pantano got a very good run through Eau Rouge and a great slipstream. And there's nothing you can do with that other than weave, which is illegal.
Yeah. And ridiculously dangerous at that sort of pace, yeah. Very dangerous indeed. Well, it's a two-horse race, isn't it? De Grassi is really just sitting in the spectator seats, with Tung not close enough behind him and not actually showing much of an effort of overtaking either.
Very disappointing, I think, for De Grassi. I thought he would give this a go, the chance of a win, the chance of extra points, while Glock scores nothing.
Top six all about half a second from each other, 0.5, 1.0, 0.8, 0.8. And 1.1 Conway now behind Filippi, so all the hard work in Filippi's slipstream has rubbished his tyres a little bit early in the race, Mike Conway, so he's perhaps having to sit back and just wait for things to settle down a little bit on the grip front.
Yeah, he had a few goes, didn't he? He wasn't ever really quite close enough to Filippi, and also your teammate, you don't really want to make any lunges that could lead to contact.
You don't want to punt him off, no. Absolutely not.
We have seen it a few times this year. Not between those two, I mean, but just teammates in general.
Well, as our statman Sean said in his notes after the race, that Mike Conway must have been relieved just to complete lap 1, so 5th place being a real bonus, and well, 2-point scores in the same weekend was something that, you know, at the sort of Silverstone end of the season you could hardly have imagined happening. He was having such an awful time.
Yeah, it would be nice for him to get a good result today, wouldn't it? But he's going to get a point, I think. But I think he, wow, talking of weaving just now. Is Nakajima giving a display?
Nakajima using his one move, but chopping the nose off Roldan Rodriguez pretty noticeably to hold on to the place he'd just taken. Lead sextet howling up the hill, led by Andy Soucek. Karen Chunduk still second. Lucas de Grassi in third. A little further back, but a long way further back, this is Vitaly Petrov trying to hold 12th from Andy Zuber. Well, when we saw Petrov starting to hemorrhage places, he was, what, 7th or 8th? And one group has all gone by him. Now Zuber is the vanguard of the next group. He's got Hirate, Pantano and Christian Bakarud coming up behind him, and I'm afraid that Petrov might not hold all of them off either. Zuber not quite close enough at that stage to get by. Here's the lead battle again, and watch Chunduk close up Gareth. This must be really, really irritating, because he's getting enough of a toe to close, and then he needs about another kilometre of straight to really make the full use of it. Yeah, he needs to gather his courage up to just carry a bit more speed through Eau Rouge if he can. And that'll see him right, I think, just a couple more mile an hour, get a better slipstream up the hill, and make a real proper challenge up into Les Combes. Again, yeah, that can be the way. I mean, it depends how comfortable you are with the car. If you're happy, you can, you know, carry some serious speed through a Rouge, you know, more speed than the guy in front, then do that. You know, drop back a bit, get yourself a real clear run through, and as you said, get a clean exit from the corner onto the straight, get a really good slipstream and do it that way, because being too close. Half a second behind Soucek for lap after lap, and that's bad news. Bakarud sitting on the grass facing the wrong way. That's down towards Stavelot. Leaders, though, coming across the line to complete lap 13. Yellow flags around down at the bottom of the hill. That's half a lap away and about 2.5 miles from them. Chunduk certainly really pushing very hard indeed. If he doesn't get the win, it's not going to be for lack of trying, is it? He's doing very well. I mean, I think he just needs to rethink his strategy, because the same one each lap just isn't working. Let's see if he can carry more speed through Eau Rouge this time. It looks pretty good. There's a long straight now, so he's not going to be quite close enough. I think you'll get the same thing again, isn't it? Just to the outside in the braking area. Oh, he's right outside. Great move. Very well done indeed. Well, now then, it looks like Soucek was sort of fooled into braking a little too early there, thinking that he had that covered, because Chunduk just rode around the outside. I mean, he did have it covered, really. As you said, he was just too early on the brakes, just too careful. He obviously thought that Chunduk was going to have to brake earlier than he did, but Chunduk may well have been wide enough there to have cleaned up the track early on. And there's the first change for the lead. Lap 13 was not a good one for Soucek. I was just about to ask you whether Chunduk had just pulled out of the toe too early, but clearly not so. Very wide, but when you scramble past there, Gareth, there's just enough room to hold on. Yep, just enough grip as well. Now, he's a man on a roll of results, isn't he? I think this would be his 4th straight points result. So pricey. Yeah. Dave Price, can't believe that a win has gone away, and I think it has as well. Now, again, talking about Chunduk's problem with being stuck right behind Soucek, he was obviously limited to the pace that Soucek was doing, and now he's free. Vroom! Suddenly he's gone. Yeah, let's see what lap time he does at the end of this lap, but certainly he's dropped him already, hasn't he? Well, he's left him nearly a second behind already. That's got to be the better part of a second. And suddenly, Tung's getting all excited about passing de Grassi. Yeah. Has somebody broken the ice, and now they're all going, oh, hang on a minute, oh, overtaking, yes, right. Let's roll up the sleeping bags and you know, get into it for the final 4 laps. 3 laps. 4 laps, sorry, yes. 14 completed. First time we have a new leader, Karen Chunduk, who started on the outside of the front row of the grid. So all of Andy Soucek's great opportunism at the start, diving inside at La Source as the 2 front row men pushed each other wide, I'm afraid has gone away. And Chunduk had got exactly a second advantage over the Spaniard on the first flying lap on the remainder of the lap where he took the lead at the top of the hill here, and Suchek not close enough at the moment to try and do anything much about it.
Yeah, Chandok found about half to 3/4 of a second that lap, just getting past Suchek.
Well, good move by the Indian driver. Race leader Karen Chandok streaming away from Andy Suchek. Bruno Senna making a mistake at the bus stop right here, this time last lap, and dropping himself down the order a little from 8th place. And Chandok 1.5 seconds, so it's a half a second on this lap. He's pulled away from Andy Suchek. Lucas de Grassi still no nearer, still absolutely no movement in the de Grassi camp. Ho Pin Tung not quite close enough. Here's a chance for Conway though. He's close enough now. In fact, he's perhaps a little too close, Gareth, as they head down into Eau Rouge. Let's look from Felipe's viewpoint. He's trying to get some clean air look and get the line absolutely right, and just saw the nose of Conway's car having a little squiggle through Eau Rouge as he grabbed some corrective lock.
Just stepped that line, didn't it? But he's just going to be just too far away, I think.
Well, that's what we thought about. Chandok is going up the inside. Has he got the overlap? No, he hasn't. See, now that was good.
Oh, there you go.
I was going to say that was good defensive driving by Felipe. By using the racing line, he then really put the pressure on Conway not to have the accident by staying alongside too late, but didn't quite make it work, and boink.
No, I'm pleased to see that. That's justice for him, and Conway's been quicker than Felipe this morning, no question.
And now he's got Adam Carroll right behind him, Luca Filippi. So let's see if Adam in the remaining couple of laps can make the best of a bad job. Unfortunately should have been on the podium in race 1 yesterday, and just there got it wrong. See how he's a little bit more cautious about that curb this time round, no matter how much he's trying to close down the car in front. Once bitten, twice shy of that curbing, I think. Well, again, here's the replay. Felipe in front. Takes the racing line. Conway backs out of it, and then Felipe can't get the car slow. Avoids going onto the bit of tarmac there. Do they not know? Have they never watched Formula 1 races? It's the first thing, well, obviously it's not the first thing I'd think of. The first thing a racing driver should think of is that there's 2 roads there. Stop messing around with the grass. Go straight for Schumacher's tarmac. Look, he avoids it completely. All right, it's not perfect, but it's more grip than the grass.
He's taken the as the crow flies route.
Having a bit of a panic sort out. So Chandok and Suchek, de Grassi. Have a look in the papers. Have either Chandok or Suchek been on the podium before? I'm trying to think.
I'm going to say no.
I honestly don't think so, no. So that would be a good end to their Spa weekends for both of them, actually.
Yeah, Suchek's best result previously is a 7th place, and Chandok's is a 5th place.
Yeah. So Suchek's best result was 6th place yesterday, and Chandok was 7th yesterday. So the reverse grid again, throwing up a little bit of differential.
And Carl goes past Filippi.
Yep. Sits there. I've got bigger cojones this weekend in race 2 as well. And again, worked hard for that. Where did he start on this morning's grid? Oh, long way back.
Quite a way down, yeah, 11th row. He was
21st place. So 21st to 6th, not bad at all.
No, it's an excellent run through.
And I mean, you know, despite the dearth of overtaking at the front of the field, there is clearly a possibility to pass a lot of cars if you end up in the wrong place. And in fact, speaking of which,
I would have thought Zuber would do better than that. I mean, we've seen the iSport car in both his and Glock's hands work through the field on Sunday mornings a few times this year. Lapierre just banged in the fastest lap of the race, 59.126.
Do you know, I was just going to say, I can't remember who had the fastest lap of the race at any stage. Who's getting that point? Well, that's not going then to Lucas de Grassi, which will be slightly gratifying news for Timo Glock. Mind you, both the iSport drivers must be having trouble driving efficiently at the moment. They've shot themselves in the foot so many times, they must really be very sore indeed.
He's got a good crop of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such tough luck on the team that it seems to be happening all the time. But, I mean, you know, going back a couple of months, you might have thought the Magny-Cours would be the low spot of their season. Apparently there are further depths to be scraped.
To be plumbed.
Yeah. Timo Glock The DNFs are starting to rack up, and certainly didn't score, are starting to rack up very worryingly in the latter part of the season. And I have to say, I don't think it would be seen as particularly just if he doesn't win the title. But on the other hand, if he's just kind of fumbling it so badly, then maybe it should go to the tortoise and not the hare.
Yeah, I mean, you have to admire
and having a win.
No, my point was consistency is very important.
Yeah.
But it's not about, it's about being a consistent winner, not about a consistent being at the front or thereabouts. That's not what it's about.
And do you know what? He might not even end up on the podium. I have last lap lunge suspicions about the red car behind him, and he's having a little think about it himself. Penultimate lap lunge.
I mean, what is de Grassi doing scrapping with hope in tongue? I'm sorry.
I know.
That's just not acceptable.
Away from nothing much happening for third place, Karen Chunduk claims the win for Durango, his first in the series. Second place, a slightly subdued Andy Soucek, and mixed feelings certainly for Dave Price. What could have been a win 6 laps from home. No mixed feelings at all for the Indian driver, nor for his Durango team, I think. This is a big moment for both. And to see DPR as well taking second position, I think either way would have been a good result, whether Soucek had won it or Chunduk himself. So the Indian driver it is who comes out on top, and courtesy, Gareth, of a well-judged and hard persevered for pass on Soucek up at the top of the mighty Camel Straight.
Yeah, it was an excellent move. He's, like I said, these last 3-4 races, he's really starting to get a handle on GP2, Chunduk. And I think if he does a second year next year, I think he'd really, be a decent little driver.
In the end, Lucas de Grassi just hangs on to third. Ho Pin Tung possibly didn't realise the last lap was quite where it was. I'm sure he should have had a little push a little earlier, but not to worry. De Grassi takes what for him might turn out to be a pivotal final podium spot here in Spa, with 2 strong scores, third yesterday and third today. Not exactly exciting in terms of racing, but the vital thing for him is that Timo Glock scores very little at all. So did Glock end up with the fastest race lap point yesterday?
Yes, he did, yeah.
So that was it. Spa in Belgium gives the fastest man in the championship just 1 single point. Well, there was a 6-point gap between them coming into the race. Fastest lap of the race is Nicolas Lapierre, so that point goes to neither of our championship contenders, which means, Gareth, that the GP2 series is all about just 2 races in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, for the neutral and for you and I, that's great. I'm really pleased that it's going down to the wire, but I do think the team deserve better than what they've been given by the drivers this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they have the best driver out, there's no doubt. I think Glock has been the best driver, but you cannot keep making mistakes like we've seen. But frustrating for them. I think they were hoping to at least leave Spa with the team championship.
Yep.
They only needed to score 3 more points than ART this weekend to take that away, but that hasn't happened. So the whole thing goes down to the wire.
They haven't scored 3 points in total all weekend, which is, again, almost unthinkable for the team that produces pretty much always the fastest cars on the grid. But look at that, Durango DPR ART BCN, again a whole host of different cars, different teams rather, in the points. So again, no real sense of domination by anybody at the moment, other than not only leading the bad luck points, but the fastest pair of cars, the iSport drivers, or the iSport cars. Karen Chunduk, though, comes into the winners' enclosure for the first time ever in GP2. As one of the Indian driver's proudest career days. Well, he looks completely underwhelmed by the whole thing, obviously. Delighted for him, charming young man, and a well-taken win. And you can always argue about the fact that he didn't qualify on pole and yada yada yada, but that's the point of the racing, is to spice things up a little bit and change the form around after race 1 to see if the fastest drivers in the first race really can produce the goods in the second race. And in a number of cases they have been able to. Oh dear.
Traffic jam.
Yeah, small blockage there. There's that Via's rotten second race going even worse as the car shunts on him, or stalls on him. I think it is. Now that's uphill a little bit from there, isn't it? So he's going to need some help with that. And of course now they're all... now Soucek being pushed in front into second place. I wonder if he was the one that stopped in the first place and then caused a bit of a traffic jam, or whether he was just coming in nice and slowly to make sure he had plenty of weight left in the car. Andy Soucek second place, and I think he's going to be pretty disappointed with himself. I mean, empirically, Andy, it's his Gareth, it's Andy's best result of the season, but I mean, you know, to have the win there for 12 laps and then have it taken away, he
looks moderately pleased.
He does.
I think you're right. I think he and the team needed a win so desperately. That's the problem, isn't it? It was just so important for them to get that and to just not quite be able to pull it off.
Well, I think that's probably exactly what you were seeing there, is the sense of having done something big for the team. And, you know, they've really felt under the hammer, haven't they, for so long, DPR. It's been a very, very long time since Olivier Pla. And the team really needed a big boost, and they got points in race 1 and then a podium in race 2. So Spa has been a good weekend for them, and for that man, Lucas de Grassi, our joint series leader with 2 races left to go.